Give it a couple seconds and then we're going to bring our guest of honor. Can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me. Good, good. Is there an echo? I was trying to record before to make sure there was no echo, but I don't know if I got it. Awesome, thank you. Okay, one more minute and then we'll request Lacy to join us. How's your day been? And where are you from, by the way? All right, so. Hey, Lacy.
Okay, hang on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I'm having to do it on my phone instead of my
Oh,
computer.
no, wait, I cannot hear you. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Yes, now I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hang
Yes.
on. I'm cleaning my screen because it was a little blurry. I had to do this on my phone instead of my computer. It wasn't working on my computer, so
Oh my God, there's always like a little glitch at the beginning of every live. I'm
yes.
sorry, everybody. Hi, so nice to meet
Hi.
you.
You too.
Guys, you're here because we're going to discuss this wonderful book, read over by the amazing Lacy Lincoln. Lacy, introduce yourselves for those of you, of our guests that don't know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Lacy. I don't know what you want to ask your questions. I'm not sure what you want me to I live in the Pacific Northwest, in the beautiful state of Washington. And yeah, I live out in the boonies. I live in the middle of nowhere.
In
I have
the
to, I do. I have to drive 45 minutes to get anywhere, honestly.
Oh,
Yeah.
compared to New York
Until,
City where everything is so close, or
right.
at least
Yes.
methods of getting there are close enough.
Yes. I have to drive very far to get to any grocery store, any civilization, really.
Oh my goodness.
So,
We lived in Florida for a while and it was literally on each side 1.7 miles, 1.5 miles to either supermarket. So we
oh,
had
wow.
to walk at that point, like we had our exercises and our steps in because we had to walk everywhere. I don't drive. My husband was working, and here I am pushing a stroller with three kids and just like walking to go to the nearest supermarket. There was no Instacart back then. That was like back
Yeah.
in 2010. So now we're spoiled. We can just order groceries and they come to our house.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I don't have that luxury anymore. When we moved to Washington 5 years ago, I used to live in Denver and everything was readily available, and it's not that way here. There's no delivery where I live.
Oh my goodness, you have to get it yourself.
Yes, totally. Thankfully, my husband works in town, so he can pick stuff up, and I very rarely go anywhere. I just stay where I am. So,
Way to go, hobby.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
we have so much to talk about. As I mentioned on my post yesterday, I reread it because I've been reading so many books after yours, and I needed to refresh my mind. And I remember how much I cried reading this story because it's so emotional. Jay and Aiden go through so much.
Yes.
Their, well, their fathers, I'm not going to say the parents, I'm going to say their fathers were just SOBs.
Yes.
Especially Aiden's dad. Oh my God, that man. The nerve on that man.
You haven't seen anything yet until you read Jay's book or Luke's book. Luke's book, you're going to see a lot more of their dad,
Oh my God.
and he's
It
worse than you can imagine.
is it possible?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh
Because
yeah.
Aiden went through hell and back with him. And,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
Luke goes through a lot more. That is for sure.
oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I am not ready.
Well,
So,
I'm not totally ready yet because I'm still in the process of writing it, and that has been it's been it's challenging, that's for sure.
goodness.
Oh, I think you just froze a little.
Yeah, I took a picture of mistake. I was trying to put the
Okay.
volume up. So tell us what inspired this book and why adult industry specifically.
It was actually an OnlyFans video that I saw. It was actually an orgy scene that I watched, and there was these two content creators that had a moment, and it was just what sparked this idea of why would these two guys be like that in the middle of an orgy? And that's honestly what inspired this book. And it took on a life of its own, and I created this whole story in my own head. And then I was like, well, I've been trying to write a book and nothing else was working, and so I decided I'll write what I love to read, and I wrote the first draft in a month and a half.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
how long did it take you to finish the book, like from beginning to end, from the
Oh
idea
gosh.
to the actual print?
I started writing it in April of last year, so it was almost a year before it was actually published.
Oh,
Even though I
wow.
wrote the first draft, it required a lot of work.
I
Just because
imagine.
it was my first book. I had never written a book before, and I I originally had a published date of the end of November of last year, and I'm really glad I moved it for a few reasons. For one, the book was not ready. For two, I had the publication date. It was the date that Heated Rivalry first came out. That would have been not a good time to release a book for a debut author.
Yeah, it would have been buried. Yes.
Yeah, very buried. And it just wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready. So, I had no idea how much work it is to get your book actually published, and especially doing it yourself. It is so much work. And I went through the ringer a lot of, learning things the hard way, but, you just have to push through it and keep going.
Of course, of course. And I gotta say, for a first book, girl, it doesn't seem like it's your first book. It was so well written, and the character development was just so beautiful and inspiring, especially with Jay's story. Tell us a little bit about Jay's story and the physical and mental and everything abuse that he went through.
So the idea of Ray and Jay came from another. It was these two guys who were content creators, and I had followed them for a while, over a year ago, and all of a sudden they just disappeared. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I mean, was seeing them all the time, and then all of a sudden they just stopped posting anything, and I have never seen them since. And I follow a lot of content creators, and a lot of them, you can just tell they're in love. They're really great couples. There was something off with these guys, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. And so that was kind of what inspired Ray and Jay to begin with, was just kind of wondering what happened to these two guys that just disappeared and had been creating a lot of content. And I know they had an OnlyFans. And so I just had this idea in my head of, what could have happened. And that was what inspired them as a couple. And just wanting to portray a relationship that's not in a good place, and that there is a lot of toxic relationships and how that can play out. And so, yeah, I originally did not intend it to go quite as far as it did, but as I wrote it, that's who Ray became. And it kind of was inevitable that was what was going to happen when he saw the two of them together once he saw that video of them, it was just, he was going to blow.
And I guess it was a perfect example that what you see is not always what is, especially in social media, because we
Yes.
see all the happy-go-lucky couples and lovey-dovey, and behind closed doors, we don't know what's going to happen, and
Right.
they don't show because they have this persona they have to show the public, but inside they're like dying. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times they cannot even get out of that situation for X, Y, and Z,
Right.
especially for Jay. He basically had committed to a relationship for what 5 years, and it all started really good, and he lost track of time of when that changed.
Yeah.
He lost himself in that relationship.
Well, and he even, he made the comment about he was like the frog in the boiling kettle, that it happened over time. And so it wasn't like all of a sudden there's all these red flags and it was a slow progression. And I think Ray just kind of became this slow progression of getting obsessed with all the likes and having people give him that validation that he was needing, and if he wasn't getting it, then he was putting that onto Jay, that it was kind of his fault that they, weren't getting what they needed. That was why he was saying, we need to get married because, that's what our
That's the
fans
fad right
want.
now, yeah.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with the fact that he loved him and wanted to get married. It was because, well, their fans are saying, and that's what all the other people are doing. That's, all the other content creators are getting married. We should get married too. And, it was just for that and not for the sake of actually loving Jay. Um,
I know. Like when Ray does what he does to Jay, it was hard to read.
yes.
But it's even harder to know how many millions of people go through that and they
Yeah.
have no one to contact or anybody that can help, or the shame of it. I mean, he felt shame for what
Yeah.
happened to him, and it wasn't even his fault,
Right.
and it's like it's so hard for a reader, especially emotional readers like me. I've become such an emotional mess since I started reading MM. But I just picture this beautiful soul, a sunshine of a person, and just slowly, very slowly diminishing and becoming,
Mm-hmm.
not himself, and having to kind of like hold it in because he doesn't want to upset his partner, because when he gets upset, then he lashes out, you
Yeah.
know? It's just like, first of all, you did an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank
Especially
you.
the aftermath, not making it, not so much like throwing it like aside, or it was just an abusive relationship, I should get over it because now I'm with the love of my life. You actually gave Jay time to heal, and you gave Aiden the patience to try
Yes.
to heal with him,
Yeah.
even though he just wanted to jump right in. They
Yeah.
haven't been together for over 40 years and now they're together. But you gave them time to kind of like reconnect, fall in love again, and the whole healing process, which it cannot be easy after everything that they both
Right.
went through.
Yeah. Well, they were different people. I mean, 14 years changes you, and they had to get to know each other again, too, because just because they had been best friends when they were growing up, they had become different people and both experienced very different things than they anticipated in life. I mean, Aiden especially did not expect to be a porn star, coming from the background that he has in his family. And, it was just, they had to get to know each other again. So,
Yeah. Now, the way they get found out, it was crazy because they're like, oh, we're finally going to be together. We're going to be living together. We can just like give free range to our love. And then they don't lock the door.
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe they did that. They've been so careful the whole time. And that one time is when
Yeah.
everything falls apart.
Well, and that is part of, story development. You have to have that moment where something happens and and I worked really hard to work on plot holes because I mean, any story you have the potential of having these enormous plot holes, and I worked really hard to try and close those as much as possible. And there's definitely things even with them being apart for 14 years of going, yes, they could have found each other. And really their reasoning behind it was they didn't want to disrupt the other's life because they didn't know what had happened to
Yeah.
them, you know? And that ultimately was the reason why they didn't reconnect again. Because I had beta readers ask me that question. Well, couldn't they have? And I'm like, yes, they could have, but you have to kind of work through your plot holes of making sure that it, you know, seems plausible. And that was one thing I worked really hard to do with when it came to them. So
Plus, the way things happened, there was no way either parent was going to let them communicate. I mean,
right,
like Ray's dad just like took him out of the state, and then Aiden's father just like took everything communication wise and
yeah,
threatened him to send him to a conversion therapy center. I was like,
yeah,
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 I understand why he was like, okay, dad, whatever you want, I'll be the good
right.
boy, just like don't send me over there, and until he found the courage to actually leave, you know.
And I was also thinking about, since this was 14 years ago, this was like 2010, and so social media wasn't what it is today either. There's a lot of things that weren't as developed in even communication and stuff as much as they are today. And so it was even more limited for them then because, they didn't have as many, even Snapchat wasn't even around yet. And there was a lot of things that weren't even there. Facebook was kind of really the main social media at the time. So it was just a little bit different time too.
It was. And then, when you think about the fact that Aiden just wanted his brothers to be safe, and he knew that if he tried to contact them, who knows what his father would have done to them.
Yeah.
So in a way, he kind of sacrificed himself, even though it broke his heart to leave them behind, but he had to do what was best for him at that point in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for his mom. His mom is a challenge for me because I did kind of let her off the hook quite a bit. Um, of she had, she was complicit in keeping him from his brothers and she had her reasoning, and it was to protect her sons. She doesn't get off as easy in the second book. There's definitely some anger directed at her of her part that she played in keeping the brothers apart for so long. Aiden forgives her a lot easier than James and Luke do.
Especially since she was the one that caused the whole ruckus, because she could have confronted them two first and then talk, like, I don't know, come up with like, oh, I don't think it's a good idea for Jay to stay anymore. But instead, she went downstairs and told her husband what happened, and then he just blew up, and the
Yeah.
whole thing just like shit
Yes.
hit the fan, as they say.
Yes, it did very quickly, very quickly. And of course, Jay's dad also, was embarrassed and mortified by the whole thing. And, he had this, he put Regimato on a pedestal. And, so of course he was mortified that his son, you know, disgraced him and, did he put it on Jay that, you defiled his son. or,
It
you
was the
know,
other way. It wasn't like a 50-50 thing. It was like both
yeah.
of them, not just one or the other.
And I
Now,
get, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, any parent of a teenager who walks in and finds their kids doing something at 17, would be mortified. I walked in on my son when he was a teenager,
Oh,
not doing anything, but it was kind of after the fact. And, we caught him doing something when he was a teenager that he shouldn't have been doing. And you're mortified by that just as a parent, as a teenager. But it could have been handled in a much better way, obviously, with
yeah.
Aiden and Jay.
I'm not a religious person. I respect every religion, but it seems like by now I've read thousands of books, and there's a common denominator. It's always the Christian family. They always have this mentality that, oh, this is wrong, but they'll be the first ones to do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They're be standing, in front of the congregation saying, "You shall not do this and that," and then behind closed doors, they're the first ones doing it. So to me, it's so hypocritical because you're telling, "Don't do this," but hey, I can do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's so it's hard because obviously you have a lot of Christian readers, or at least those that don't want to admit they read this kind of content. And it must be really hard for them to be reading something like that and say like, oh, but it shouldn't be done. But at the same time, it's like love is love. So they're like in a impasse, as they say, whether to believe that doesn't matter the sexuality, love is love, or their beliefs in God and what, according to the God processes, that is the right thing to do. So, are you Christian, or you just like decided to write about
Um,
Christianity?
I have deconstructed from Christianity. Let's put it that way. I was a Christian for a very long time. I don't consider myself one anymore. That's why I feel like I'm in this unique position to write about it, because I know what that world is like. I know what the Christian bubble is like. I didn't fit in it, but I tried to fit into it for a long time. And I finally got to a point where I was done and couldn't do it anymore. And I am so much happier now, because I'm not in it anymore, because there is so much hypocrisy and so much just this emphasis on against the LGBTQ community, yet there's men who can go and have sex with young girls, and there's not, for some reason, that's forgivable so easily. But anything LGBTQ is, you're going straight to hell. And I do not believe any of that. I never have. And that's always been a struggle for me when I was in church, is that I didn't agree with that. And I just really, so I am in a unique position that, my grandfather was a minister. My parents were missionaries when I was young. But my father did what Reggimato did. I didn't walk in on him, but I found out when I was 14 years old that he was having sex with I don't know how many different women, and was cheating on my mom and, doing all these things, and really screwed me up. So I relate to a lot of this. My dad is a narcissist, and I have no relationship with him anymore because I just can't. And so, these narcissistic characters, you'll see a lot of them in my writing because I relate to it so
Yeah.
much. And I understand. And not only my dad, I've had bosses that have been that way. And so I have this tendency to, an antagonist is going to have some narcissistic personality traits in most of my books, just because that's what I know.
Yeah. I'm sorry you went through that. And it couldn't have been easy for you, especially I assume that before everything happened, you had your dad in a different light, and then for him to be, to
Oh, yeah. I thought
shatter
he was
that.
this very godly, good man. And then I find out he's living a completely false life. I mean, he was, yeah. And it wasn't just that. He was a con artist. He cheated people out of money all the time. And that's what he's always done. He was into multi-level marketing, basically pyramid schemes, and took people for a lot of money and burned bridges constantly. And it just, so, I mean, that's been my experience with men in church in particular, as I've seen that so many times, and I just can't be part of
Yeah.
it anymore.
Yeah. It sucks, but it's so common that it doesn't surprise people anymore,
Yeah.
so now,
And I'm seeing in comments other people saying, yeah, I left going to church too because I can't do it anymore. And it's
yeah.
just, I think there's so many people who are in that position now of, there's certain things that are forgivable, and then there's other things that are deemed, not. And they've got it backwards, completely
Yep.
backwards. I'm sorry, but if you're doing something to a young child, that's what you should burn in hell for.
Exactly. And it's always bugged me out that when, especially when we see all this, sexual assault on children and abuse, it's not the LGBTQ doing it. So
No.
why are they the one that are supposed to be like, don't don't mingle yourself with those kinds of people. I've always said that if the world was run by gay people, it'd be a happy world. Like, because
That and women.
that and women, because I don't have close friends that are LGBTQ. I do have a cousin, couple of cousins actually, and my mom, her best friend back in the 90s was gay, and he was one of the sweetest and most upbeat people that you could ever meet, and in all the books that I read, the characters, even though they have their tragic backstory, they still have this like positive outlook on life, despite of everything they go through, which goes to
Yeah,
show you how resilient they are, and how they're looking for a silver lining. Because if you start thinking everything that's going wrong in your life, you just like drop dead and die,
yeah, yep.
you know. Shaz, yes, I can see you. I've been seeing all your comments. Now, I loved um Jay's sister. She was a force to be reckoned with. I absolutely loved her character. I love strong women because they are the ones that cement like that bond
Yeah.
when it comes to either protecting their children or their brother or their parents. And she was absolutely, I loved her. I just loved her. What inspired her?
Um, I really wanted a strong female character in the book, but that was kind of a force to be reckoned with and wasn't going to allow Jay to stay in a relationship that was toxic like that. Once she found out the truth of what was going on, like she was like, there's no way that I'm allowing this to continue. Um, because he needed somebody that was like that in his life, I think, to
Yeah.
kind of pull him back and say, and not just Aiden, but somebody who's close to. And she was really his champion from the moment he came out. She wasn't going to let him go back in the closet at
Yep.
all, and she was going to allow him to be who he is. So um, there was a couple people that inspired me of that I know that are kind of have that personality type, and they that was kind of where her character came from. But really, a lot of the things that she said and everything just kind of poured out of me as I wrote it, of just who her character is and building her. So um, I wanted her to kind of stumble over things and not say everything right though as well, because I think even though she's an attorney and she was dealing with people who have been in abusive relationships and stuff, you always deal with your family differently, the
Yep.
people that you're closest to, um, because you see them in a different light. And so she was a little harder on him than I think, she would have been with her clients. She probably would have been a lot kinder. And with her brother, she was just like, what the hell? Like, why did you let this happen? And I think that that's kind of a natural tendency, and like siblings especially aren't going to be as kind and considerate. And I mean, siblings we have our own toxic elements to our relationships that aren't great. And so I kind of wanted to bring that across too, because she wasn't perfect in that way. I mean, I think she probably was really great with her clients, but how she handled her brother was a little bit different.
I just think that she wanted him to not so much toughen up, but to have a thicker skin, you
Yeah,
know, for him to, yes, that happened to him, but it didn't define him,
yeah,
for him to just be stronger about it and say, you know what? Yeah, it happened. I can get over it. I can become this amazing person and not let my past, you know, just continue following me for the rest of my life. And
right.
she was a tough nut to crack. I loved her
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
I also love, even though, the the same thing that happened to Jay and Aiden, the moms were really close, and
yeah,
the whole thing kind of like broke them apart. And you could tell that um, Aiden's mom needed someone, from the
yes.
beginning, and then for the whole blowout to happen, like it pisses me off. But Aiden's father, it's like he timed it perfectly, you know.
Yeah,
He kind of like led the way for his debauchery to just go on without anybody holding him accountable. We say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you're out of here, or, I would not have a gay son, so you get your act together, or consequences. But he just wanted to isolate Aiden's mom and manipulate her and then have the excuse. I mean, the goal of that man to say that she was no longer fulfilling his needs, like, what the hell? Like,
And
he
unfortunately,
puts her
I
through the
know,
ringer and then
yeah,
he blames her. Like, what?
yeah. I've seen that firsthand. Exactly. I mean, my dad's did this exact same thing to my mom, of basically making it her fault that he stepped out on her. And that happens a lot with a lot of men, especially in church, who they blame the women and say, "Oh, it's your fault." There's a lot of gaslighting, there's a lot of manipulation and control, and that is a very common thing in the Christian church, unfortunately, and I've seen it firsthand. I don't know how many times. Of women who I feel are really trapped in this place of they can't, um, even express themselves of who they really are. And I've seen, women whose husbands have passed away, and then they, finally are like, I'm free and I can finally do something because divorce wasn't an option for them. Um, yeah, it's kind of crazy how that happens, but it does.
Way too much. It happens way too much.
Yeah.
That scene at the airport had me crying.
Oh, I bawled when I wrote it, and then when I edited it, I was sobbing, like literally sobbing when I wrote that scene.
It was so beautiful, and in all levels, because you have two best friends reuniting, you have a whole family that used to do everything together, and then poof, everything is gone, and then the brothers seeing each other after 14 years. It was just so, it was so heartwarming. I was like, oh my God, I have to stop crying. I have to stop crying. But the book is just such an amazing book. And honestly, I cannot wait for Luke's story because there's going to be a lot of crying. There's going to be a lot of wanting to throw my Kindle at the wall, I'm sure.
Yes, there will be. But there's also going to be some very sweet moments. But poor Luke, he really goes through it because he doesn't know himself at all. That's where
Oh,
we really start. The rec Dunder is Luke does not know himself, and
yeah.
he's got to figure himself out. And so he goes through like a full sexual awakening of even like just trying to figure himself out. If you've seen the movie The Runaway Bride, where she has to like figure out how she likes her eggs,
Yeah.
it's kind of a similar thing of he's really trying to figure himself out. And so there's going to be some funny moments along the way of that too, of him just trying to figure himself out. And he knows nothing about pop culture. He knows nothing about, because everything was this very locked down, purity culture, Christian world thing for him. And so he just discovers things that he never knew about. And it's going to be kind of a fun ride to go through. And then his relationship that he gets into is going to be very sweet. Like there's going to be a lot of angst, but it's not the relationship that brings the angst. It's everything else going on around him with his dad that will bring a lot of turmoil. But the relationship itself is going to be very sweet.
I imagine. And he deserves that because he was sheltered in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he was raised to be this perfect boy for his dad, and kind of like, I guess in a way his father wanted him to take on his steps, you know, and for Luke to be yanked from that, and so suddenly and in such a way, because I mean he's the one who found him doing what he wasn't supposed to be
Yeah.
doing. It was a shock to his system, and he has to like unlearn all those things that he was taught and try to figure out who he wants to be. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't want to be like his father and what he was supposed to grow up to be, like a man of the church and all these beliefs. So it's going to be quite a battle for him to come into himself and accept who
Yes.
he is.
It will be. It will be. But so the retreat center that he goes to is going to be the thing that's going to be the saving grace for him, is because it's going to be a safe place for him to actually be able to just come into his own and figure himself out. And it'll give him the time to do that. Um, but it's going to be an interesting path for him too. I'm
That's
just going to say
awesome.
that. I'm not trying not to say too much and give too much away. But yeah, It is. So it is an age gap, not a huge one. He's 22 and his love interest is 35, so it's not
It's not
terrible.
a big deal.
But I think Luke also is kind of had this maturity about him anyway. Um, he is not a young 22. He's got some wisdom behind him, and he learns a lot. And changes a lot in a short amount of time because of everything that they go through with his dad. And so you're going to see some maturity in him that the age gap is going to kind of not be as, because I'm not a huge fan of like massive age gap, too young, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to be cringy, the age gap, put it that way.
So, do you have a timeline of when book two is going to release, or because I know
Oh,
that
that's
in the book it says later in 2026, but how
yeah.
later, like December
I
or
have it
like?
right now I have it as the end of November. We'll see how that goes. The problem is that for one, I just got out of writing mode completely with releasing Rectover, and it was just so hard to get back into it. And the month of March just took me out. I was sick, and then I was so exhausted with everything putting it out that I just had to kind of step back and take a break. And now I'm also decided, I'm going to write another book in the midst of this too. And I have really fallen in love with this other book. And so that is kind of where my main focus has been. It's called The Farmer. And it is a very different book altogether. It is about a farmer in Nebraska who puts out a personal ad because he wants to find somebody to love and to just come live with him on his farm. And it's kind of a bit of a rom-com. There's a lot of humor in it. The other character, his name is Eric, and he is a very snarky, just fun character. I'm just having a ball writing him. And so I've kind of been focused on that a little bit more just because it's giving me this reprieve from this heaviness of Luke's book. And so I've been going back and forth. But at the moment, I'm just loving writing this. It's really fun. There's a lot of like DMs back and forth because they're kind of online distance dating for a while in the beginning. And so there's a lot of just back and forth of DMs and video chats and stuff before they even meet in person. So it's just been fun.
I love that. I love that. Now, you said at the end of the book that it's going to be a 6 book series,
Yeah.
give or take.
I have the stories all the characters kind of not fully developed, but I know what their stories are going to be. Book 2 obviously is Luke. Book 3 is I have not fully come up with their names yet. One is going to be Dylan. I think the other is Travis. They are the brothers, or one of them is the brother of Alex, who is the teenager who Aiden and Jay take in. It's his older brother. And so there's a whole thing surrounding them. And then book 4 is actually Lauren's story, and it's an MMF. Book 5 is Chase, who is the boy that Aiden and Jay adopt in the epilogue. And then
Crystal's brother, right?
yes. And then book 6 is actually going to be Alex's book. So
Can't wait.
So yeah, me neither. I just have to write them, and it's writing a book it takes some time, and I am not I did write Rectover the first draft in a month and a half because I just started powering through, and I just need to get that momentum again, and I'm starting to getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm writing on a very consistent basis now, where I wasn't for a while. So yes, I need to get my butt in gear and get writing.
Well, I imagine that it was emotionally draining for you to write all these emotional scenes, and especially when they are so close to your heart, you kind of like you needed a minute to decompress and kind of
Yeah,
like take a breather and
yeah,
then let inspiration come. Because I mean,
yeah.
it is your first book, so the stress of releasing a book into the world, not knowing how people are going to take it, it must have been like nerve-wracking
Oh
for you.
yeah, it was really, really, it was hard. And just being, I mean, when you're an indie author, you are everything. You're your own publisher, your own social media marketer. I'm doing everything on my own, and it just takes a lot out of you. And it's hard to shift from, this mode to creativity mode when you're, okay, I've got to create social media posts and I've got to, um, I'm managing a business basically. And then I also work a part-time job. And my husband and I own 22 acres, and it's springtime now, so everything's growing like crazy. And there's a lot of management. We have hip campsites as well, so we have campers who are showing up on a regular basis now, and so I have to manage all those camping sites. And so it's just, I have a lot of other stuff going too, and so it's just a challenge to balance it all.
I imagine. I don't have 22 acres, but I have 4 children and a husband, so
Oh my.
I when I first found out about your book, I don't even remember how I found you. I think it might have been through one of the um, art agencies, and I read the blurb and I was like, I need this. I need this book in my life. Like, I have to read this because it just sounded so interesting. And I love supporting new authors. I hopefully, I'm working on my own book, and the goal is to get it published sometime this year. But I love supporting them because it's a lot of them are like me in the sense that they either stay at home moms or their wives, and they just need an outlet to let all the
Mhm.
creativity on. I'm a very creative person. My mind is constantly swirling with ideas, and I have to like ground myself and like, brain stop, please just take a break, you know? So helping them out, it kind of like fulfills my own dreams of seeing myself as a published author, and plus it doesn't hurt to help somebody else either, especially when the story is so good. I have to share it. Like, all of my posts are either recommending a book or sharing their graphics. It's just like it's my goal, I guess, to just help other authors out there just fulfill the dreams of
Yeah.
getting their stories read.
I'm trying to do the same. So I have a really good friend that I actually made through, it was a Facebook reader group. His name is Luke Wild, and he just published his first book, and it's so great. It's called Cell Block Apartment, but it just is not getting very much traction. He is not a social media person. Like, he just hates it and doesn't want to have to be, marketing himself. And so it's out there, but it's not really getting, it's not in front of anybody. So I I beta read it for him, and then I reread it after it was published, and it's just a great story. So if you're looking, I know you're always looking for something to read. Read Cellblock Apartment by Luke Wild. It's really wonderful.
Just send me the information and I post all over. And I if he doesn't like social media, we do the social media for him. So
I know.
Phil, I agree with you. Unpaid social media queen. Yes, right here.
It's called Cell Block Apartment by Luke Wild.
Definitely gonna look into it.
Yeah.
I have so many arcs, it's not even funny. I am behind because we were in Canada the last weekend, and it was a self-developing conference, so I had no time. I only had time for like reading a couple pages, and I am so behind. Thank God the authors that I are for, they are so understanding, and I'm so active in the group that they know what I'm doing, and I still share the graphics and all that. But I love arcing. I discovered arcing about 2 years ago, and it was like the best thing that happened to me. There is nothing better than getting to read a book before everybody else,
I
because
love how
you got
everybody's
that
saying,
first
"Oh my gosh, I
emotion.
have so many arcs to read."
So many arcs, but it's so much fun though, especially when you have a space. I am in like 50 street teams. So to have
Wow.
so many people to talk about the books, it's so fun. I don't, unfortunately, I don't have real life friends. So my friends are the ones online, and we just get into it, and that's our support group.
That's where my most of my friends are. I mean, there's not a lot of people in my life who read MM and definitely are not, you know, haven't been extremely supportive of me writing it, especially my family, because they're all still, most of them are conservative Christians. And so they are not highly supportive of what I'm doing. And so having the people that I have met, um, especially online through Instagram in particular, has been amazing. I mean, I know most of them are on here right now who have been so supportive of me and have loved me, and I am so very appreciative of them. Yeah, you all know who you are because you have been so amazing.
Yeah, it's important to have that support, especially when you're starting out, because you are a nervous wreck and you don't have anybody else to talk about it. And,
Yes.
especially the kind of books that you write and coming from the background that you're coming from, it must be really hard for you to just like say, hey, I write MMN books, deal with
Yeah,
it.
I have gotten some really strange looks like, you're what? Like, what? Yeah, the craziest one was there's a local guy that asked me, your husband is letting you write that? I was just
Letting
like,
you, like,
yeah. I was
what?
like, excuse me? Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
My husband is like my number one supporter. He supports all my crazy obsession with MM. This is only one
Yeah.
shelf. I told him, babe, I need another shelf. He goes like, of course you do. Of course you do. But then he goes like, okay, here, just go and buy your books, whatever makes you happy, because I don't ask for much. I don't ask for jewelry. I don't ask for trips. I just ask for books.
Just books. Yeah. My
Just books.
husband has been amazingly supportive. He has read the book and he actually is going to read it again. Um, I do talk to him a lot about it. It's not exactly his thing, but he's my sounding board a lot of times and he'll give me feedback and, give me ideas. And he has been amazingly supportive. And I know I threw him for a loop for sure but he was the one actually that suggested, why don't you just write something that, you're already reading? Um,
Yeah.
and he was the one that told me I should, write an MM story. So I did.
Look at that. That's awesome. My husband just asked me, he asked me early, so who's the live tomorrow with the, oh, the author that sent me the book for me to do the live. Said, oh, yeah, I remember. Her name is Lacy. So, oh, good luck. And I'm always like, by now he almost knows all my favorite authors, but it's just so many for him to keep up. So I have
Yeah.
to remind him, so, oh, it's this author. He said, oh, okay, yeah, I remember. I talk to him about it all the time because
Yeah.
I'll be on the corner of my couch laughing or crying, and he's like, there, babe, there. The other day, I finished reading Becca Seymour's latest book, and I went on a rant with him. He goes like, come here, babe, come here, let me give you a hug. You need like, you don't understand. It is so annoying. He was like, okay, it's okay, take it easy. So he had to like basically calm me down from the ledge I was on because I was going on a run. But
Yeah.
it's just amazing to have that support from your spouse because this is something that you love to do, and
Yeah.
you expect the people that love you to support you.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't wait for book two. I really can't wait. It's like, can time pass?
Yeah. Well, I'm working on it for sure. Yeah, Luke he definitely has a special place in my heart just because I relate to him a lot and what he is going through. And so there'll be a lot of that that'll come across in his story just because I understand what it's like to discover that your father is not who you thought they were. So
Yeah.
that'll definitely come across.
So now we know the impact Hater Rivalry has done.
Yeah.
We just saw that what is it, Boyfriend Material is getting a TV
Oh,
adaptation.
yeah.
I haven't read it, but now I'm curious.
I know I
If
haven't read that one either.
if you could have Jay and Aiden portray on TV, who would you like casting?
Oh my gosh.
Who do you see
Um,
as Jay? Who do you see as Aiden?
um, Well, honestly, so there's a it's a content creator. His name is Lazarato, and he would totally be Aiden. Jay, I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure who I would have portray him. Um, but Aiden is just kind of this really solid guy that is just, like you said, he's just so patient and, knows exactly what he wants. And so it would have to be somebody who's just can portray that really well. Yeah. I don't know.
Sorry,
I'd have to think about that.
Put you on the spot there.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that. But I am such, oh my gosh, heated rivalry. It just like lives rent free in my brain at like
Everybody's.
all the time. And then, there are so many people who do deep dives and you just like, oh, there's another layer of, each scene that I like all these things that you didn't see before. Like I think I shared something yesterday on my story that was when Shane goes to Ilya's house and there you can see Ilya, the reflection of him in the window and then in the fireplace, and he's like surrounding Shane, and it was just like I never saw that before, but somebody else picked up on it, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's just amazing. This other layer that you don't see in the scene.
It's amazing how many people just like go and rewatch and find this little tidbits that we miss while watching the show or while reading the book. It's funny because last night I shared the scene with them on the couch when Shane is telling him, like, you don't have to marry her to get a passport.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
Ilya, he goes like, yeah, but I like women and they're beautiful. And Shane is like this close from just throwing something at him. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know you like women, stop saying that.
I was kind of waiting for him to throw a book at his head.
Right? He just likes to just like he loves to get on Shane's nerves, but then he becomes the sweetest person. He comes out as an ass at first, but then he ends up being the sweetest because when he says, yeah, but I like this boring hockey guy with a terrible backhand, and it's like I cannot stop thinking about him. So he's like, okay, I forgive you.
Yeah.
Like you never know what's gonna come out of his mouth, but when it does come out, it's like, oh.
Yes. I know. I rewatched episodes 5 and 6 are my absolute favorite episodes, and I think I've rewatched those more than anything. I mean, yeah, the first few episodes are really, really great and everything, but it's 5 and 6 that are the ultimate. They really are.
Definitely, because it's basically what just like the dynamic between the relationships from the time they met to how they are now is completely changed. It's like from night and day. They are more comfortable with each other. They have accepted, at least Shane has accepted that he's gay and that it's okay, and Ilya ended up being a bigger supporter than he actually anticipated.
Yeah,
because everybody hated him because of how he is, overconfident.
Yes, he is a little overconfident, that is for sure. But Shane even said it. It's just an act.
It is. Once you get to know him, you know the reason why he has to be the way he is. I mean,
and if you've read all the books,
example.
If you've read all the books, you see how he is. Like he always, he has this gaydar that is just he knows who is, and he goes and supports them. I mean, he's there and supports every single one of them in the each book, and it's just
I haven't read the whole series yet.
You have to read the whole series.
I'm pacing myself until the latest book comes out, so it's fresh on my mind. But the last one I read was
sorry,
Tough Guy. I think it was. Yeah, I think Tough Guy was the last one, or
okay.
I don't remember, but yeah, I'm pacing myself. So when the book 7 comes out, then I'll be like, oh, I remember everything, so I don't have to reread. But
now it's not going to come out for over a year.
I know.
But
I know. It's pure torture.
I totally give Rachel Reed grace. She
for real.
Yeah.
She has done what nobody thought would be possible.
Yeah.
When the announcement came, I had not, like I had heard about Shane and Ilya. I was like, who are they? They're like, oh, it's from this book called Hidden River, but I never pay attention. But then when it was announced, I was like, wait a minute. So like I just jumped in the bandwagon. I was like, look, I need to see it. And then my husband goes like, we can just like try to get the subscription. I said, yeah, but it's in Canada. And then when HBO Max says that they were picking it up, I was like, yes, yes. He watched it with me. He goes like,
Oh, my
it
husband
was
watched it
really
with me
good.
too. Yeah.
He actually liked it.
Yeah, my
So
husband did too.
it was me, my daughter, and him. He was like, oh, thank you for watching with me. He was like, no, it was really good. It was really good. But it's almost time to end it. We have to pick a giveaway
Oh,
winner.
yeah.
We have 3 people. So I am going to just close my eyes and pick someone. Let's see, let's see. Who did I get? Ooh, Fairmel Reeds. Congratulations, you win the ebook. Just message Lacy and give her your information so she can send it to you.
Yes.
Are you still online? Please be online. Lacy, it was such a pleasure having you here.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. It was so much fun. I thank you for the book.
You're welcome.
It's definitely one of my top 5 so far this year. Honestly, it has
That's amazing.
been such an amazing read, and I will reread it again before book 2 comes out. And congratulations in such a successful release, because I think it has been amazing. I have seen it in multiple places, and I think it's done well. I hope it has for you monetarily.
It's getting there. It's getting some traction. It's been a slow. I think, I mean, I'm a mood reader too, and so I'm hoping it's sitting on a lot of TBRs, but it's when people get to it. So, but I recently had a huge spike in reads in the last week, so that's been pretty amazing. So I've gained a lot of traction on Facebook recently, and I don't know how that's happened, but all of a sudden I've had some posts that have like had 25,000 views, and I'm like, how did that even happen? I don't even know.
Are you on Facebook? Because I have tried tagging you, and I cannot find you.
I am on Facebook. Yeah, it's just linked through my Instagram. So I don't post specifically on, but it's the same username as my Instagram. So
Okay, so
yeah,
I'll go back to my post and retag you so you can see them. Also, Phil Mills says she already has the book. Ooh, then I don't know. You will have to talk to Lacy about that. My signed book is one of my prized possessions, FYI. I agree. Mine too. Mine too. Look at this. Look at that. Lacy was gracious enough to send me the copy before our live, and I thank you so much. It's funny because when we talked about it, I had it on my cart, and they said, "Oh, I'm gonna send it to you." I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." Are you thinking of doing like? I mean, it's still early, and normally it takes at least about a year before special editions are considered. Are you considering special editions for it?
at the moment, no, just because I'm recouping my costs from everything that I've invested into it so far. So, and I've thought about audio, but that's going to be down the road as well, just because, yeah, that's another expense that I'll have to think about later on when I gain a little bit more traction, I think. So, as a new author, there's, you have to kind of gauge what's the things that are going to, at least recoup my costs. And then, and I know a lot of it is writing more books. And that's one of the things that you have to focus on is just getting more books out there. So
I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but who will you want to narrate the book?
I don't know. I am not an audio book person, so I really don't know. I know.
My God.
The reason why is I am not an auditory learner. I learn by doing, and I just can't, like, it just goes in my ear, out the other. It doesn't compute in my brain unless I physically have it in front of me. And so audio is just not my thing. And so I really don't know a lot of narrators at all because I just am not an audiobook person. I think it's great for people who are, really do.
My husband just joined. Hi,
Yeah.
baby. Well, I love audios. I have way too many audios. I haven't had the time to listen, but whenever I see a deal, I have to get it. So it allows me to multitask. So, but Lacey, again, thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you for
thank you,
having me
thank
on.
you. I wish you so much success. I hope that by the time book two comes, this one will be a bestseller, and
Thank,
you will be at the top. You deserve it. You're amazing, and I am so glad to have met you, even though it's only online. But I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining Between the Pages with Anna. Next week, we have another surprise, so stay tuned, and I hope that you can join me again. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.